The sky above Threxen was dark. Smoke covered the stars. Fires burned across the last standing city of the Galaxian Alliance. Buildings were half destroyed. Roads were full of broken machines and bodies. The war had taken everything. Commander Varn stood on the wall of the main defense post. His skin, pale and scaled, shimmered in the dim red light. He watched the enemy slowly moving through the destroyed outer zones. The Dravak were coming. Again, thought they had crushed planet after planet. The Galaxians were peaceful being scientists. Thinkers, diplomats. They were never built for war. But they had tried. And failed. Varn turned to his communication officer. "Any word from the council?" The officer shook her head. "No replies, sir. They're silent." Varn clenched his jaw. "We need reinforcements now." He pressed the emergency beacon himself, the one no one had ever used before. The Omega Protocol. It sent a signal to every corner of the galaxy, screaming for help. A final call. The last hope got far above Threxen. A satellite caught something. A new signal. "Commander," the tech shouted. "We received a reply. From Earth." Varn blinked. "Earth? The Death World?" Everyone in the room went silent. Earth was not part of the Alliance. They had refused every invitation. No one knew much about them, only rumors. That humans were violent, strange, dangerous. Some said they were still evolving. Some said they were too advanced. The reply was simple. Reinforcements. En route, ETA, 4 hours. Nothing more. Varn stared at the message. "Is it real?" The tech nodded. Confirmed. The signal came from deep space. And it's coming fast. Hours passed. The city grew more quiet. There was no more fighting. No more screaming. Only the sound of the wind through empty buildings. The Galaxians stood behind energy walls and waited. Every few minutes, a long-range scan would beep, but still no enemy movement. Then someone shouted, "Look up!" A single black shape broke through the clouds. Silent, massive. It floated with no engine noise, no flashing lights. Its surface was smooth like glass, but darker than the sky itself. "It's not a Dravak ship," Varn whispered. "No, it's not like any ship we've seen before," someone added. The vessel hovered above the city. Then small pods began falling from it, dark, egg-like shapes slamming into the ground with force. The impact didn't cause damage, but they left cracks in the stone. One opened, and a figure stepped out. The being stood tall, covered in a strange black suit that shimmered faintly. It wore no helmet, but its eyes were cold, focused, human, more. Pods opened, dozens, then hundreds. All humans. They didn't speak. They didn't salute. They simply spread out in silence, checking corners, scanning buildings, setting up small devices with red lights. Varn stepped forward, unsure. "Are you Earth's reinforcements?" The closest human turned, nodded once, and replied in a calm voice. "We are. Stay behind the line. Wait, what do you need? Plans? Maps? Coordination?" The human stared at him. "We don't need your plans. Just stay out of our way." An hour later, the Dravak attacked. Thousands of them armored, massive, roaring with rage. But the humans didn't fall back. They didn't shout or panic. Instead, they moved, like shadows. They flowed through the battlefield fast, silent, deadly. Their weapons made no loud explosions, only sharp pulses of light and bursts of energy that cut through enemy armor like paper. Varn watched through a screen. He saw one human roll beneath a giant tank-like machine, place a glowing cube, and walk. Away. 3 seconds later, the machine collapsed into dust. The Galaxian soldiers stared in shock. What kind of weapons are these? No one had an answer. After 1 hour of battle, the Dravak stopped pushing. After 2 hours, They started pulling back. After 3, their entire forward army was gone, and the black ship still hovered above them, unchanged. Unmoved. The battlefield was quiet again, not because the war was over, but because something terrifying had arrived. Varn whispered, "We called for help." But Earth brought something else. No one disagreed. The humans didn't celebrate. They didn't talk. They simply began preparing for the next move. Varn realized something important that night. Earth hadn't come to save them. Earth had come to end the war. The sky was calm again. The black ship still hovered, unmoving. It looked like a shadow against the stars, as if space itself had broken open above Threxen. Commander Varn hadn't slept. None of the Galaxians had. Everyone kept watching the strange humans below, moving through ruins and streets with perfect control. They didn't talk much. They didn't ask questions. They only acted. The humans worked like a single machine. Each move had a purpose. They placed small cube-like devices on the walls, towers, and even underground tunnels. The Galaxian engineers had never seen such tools before. When asked, the humans simply said, "Preparations." From the far cliffs, the Dravic Empire began gathering again. Massive walkers, flame tanks, spike bombers, thousands of infantry. It was the largest force yet. The Galaxians panicked. "We're not ready." One officer cried, "That's a full-scale siege." Commander Varn looked at the human soldier beside him, tall, silent, unreadable. "Will your people hold the line?" Varn asked carefully. The human didn't even look up. He simply said, "They won't reach the city." Minutes later, the first enemy flyers zoomed across the sky. Then, everything changed. Cubes the humans had placed around the perimeter glowed bright red. With a soft chime, a dome of invisible force snapped into place, surrounding the city in a perfect circle. When the first Dravak tank crossed the line, it was cut in half silently, like a fruit sliced by an unseen blade. The rest of the army paused in confusion, and that's when the black ship moved. For the first time, the human warship tilted forward. Small hatches opened on its underside. No cannons, no missiles, no fire. Just silence. Then light. Blue lines of glowing energy formed beneath it, humming softly. A second later, the air above the enemy forces began to ripple like water under heat. Without a sound, a wide area of the battlefield simply disappeared. Thousands of enemy soldiers vanished in one pulse. Gone. No bodies. No debris. Just dust. The Galaxians gasped in terror. "Is that a new kind of weapon?" A soldier whispered. "No," said Varn, his eyes wide. "That's not a weapon. That's a message." At the same time, inside the enemy command zone, chaos spread. The Dravic general barked orders. "Shield the troops. Pull back. They're using unknown tech." But his words were useless. The humans were already behind them. No one saw them land. No. One heard them move, but the Dravic supply routes had been cut, their communications jammed, and their air support was missing. And then they found a single human standing in their command tent. The Dravak guards opened fire, but their weapons jammed, exploded. The human didn't move. He simply raised a hand and said one word: "Finished." Everything went dark. Back in the Galaxian control tower, news arrived. Enemy fleets were retreating. Enemy ground commanders were gone. No sign of the Dravak Emperor's elite guard. Destroyed. Gone. Silence followed. The humans had ended the battle. In under 2 hours, Commander Varn looked across the burning plains and said, "We didn't call soldiers. We called something far more dangerous." That night, a message played across every Galaxian screen. It wasn't from the Council. It wasn't from THR Exxon. It was from Earth. "To those who destroy peace, we do not offer warnings. we offer ends. Earth has answered. The message ended. The black ship turned in the sky. And slowly it began to rise higher and higher until it disappeared into space, like it had never been there. Still, the humans on the ground remained. They weren't done. Not yet. They moved, like ghosts through the shadows, hunting the last of the enemy. And not once did they ask for thanks. Not once did they celebrate. They were here for purpose, not praise. Commander Varn stood in the ruins, watching one of the human squads walk past a destroyed Dravok tank. "Who are they?" he asked softly. A Galaxian beside him answered in a shaky voice. "They're not just soldiers. They're the storm." The morning after Earth's strike, a strange silence covered Threxen. The battlefield was still. No movement. No gunfire. No enemy cries. Galaxian soldiers walked through the ruins in disbelief. The city stood tall. The Dravok army was broken. But no one smiled. No one celebrated, because the humans were still moving. They didn't rest. They didn't return to base. They disappeared into the shattered city and wild zones like shadows. Working, hunting, clearing. They didn't need orders. They didn't need praise. They followed something else. Something deeper. Purpose. Commander. Varn watched through surveillance screens. One squad of humans was inside the lower tunnels where the Dravok had stored weapons. 4 humans. That's all. The Galaxian sensors showed 75 enemies in that sector. Varn turned to the comms officer. "Are they going to wait for backup?" "No, sir," she said quietly. "They've already gone in." Inside the tunnels, the humans moved like predators in darkness. No footsteps. No noise. Their suits blended into shadows. Their helmets showed heat signatures, movement lines, and even heartbeat rhythms of the enemies. One human threw a tiny orb. It floated midair, then released a soft pulse. On the enemy screen nothing. To the humans, it revealed everything. Targets. Marked. Angles calculated. Weak spots exposed. And then action. One human climbed the ceiling like a spider, dropped silently behind a Dravok. "Officer," and snapped his neck in one motion. Another human set a magnetic pulse mine stuck to the wall. As the enemy passed. The device triggered. No explosion. Just darkness. Their weapons died. Their night vision failed. And then the human struck. Clean. Fast. Silent. 30 seconds later. The corridor was clear. No alarms. No screams. Just stillness. Back in command, the Galaxians were stunned. How are they doing this? One asked. Commander. Varn answered slowly. This is not training. This is survival. Earth was a death world. Everyone knew the story's wild storms, beasts stronger than tanks, gravity that crushed bones, oceans that swallowed cities. And somehow, humans had evolved on it. Not only survived, but thrived. Now, those same creatures were here, in this war, and they were fighting like they had done it since birth. In another zone. 2 Galaxian squads were trapped behind enemy fire, pinned down, bleeding, out of ammo. Suddenly, the shots stopped. They peeked over the broken wall and saw something strange. Dozens of Dravok soldiers on the ground, not dead, but unconscious, wrapped in thin black wires, breathing but unable to move. A human stood in the middle. He looked at the Galaxians and said one thing: "Path clear." Then he vanished into the mist. Stories started spreading fast. One Galaxian team reported a single human taking out 5 tanks with just 3 small charges. Another swore a human sprinted across open ground faster than the hound. Dravok could track leaping onto a gunship and dragging the pilot out by hand. One commander whispered that a human walked through fire to save a wounded soldier. No burns. No fear. Just mission. In the war room, Varn spoke to his senior staff. These tactics, they don't Follow any rule we know. A young officer replied, That's because humans don't follow war. They follow instinct. Another added, They don't adapt to the battlefield. The battlefield adapts to them. Varn looked out at the black ship still hovering in the sky, and then he understood. Earth hadn't sent just soldiers. They had sent Deathworlders trained by fire, creatures raised in chaos. Masters of survival. And the galaxy had never seen anything like them. At the end of the day, the Galaxians received a report from a scout drone. A Dravak command outpost was found emptied, walls burned, no survivors. But one thing remained, a message scratched into the steel floor. 3 words. We were here. No name. No emblem. Just the echo of fear. That night, many Galaxian officers asked the same question. What will happen when Earth stops fighting others and starts deciding who leads? But no one had the courage to say it aloud, because they all knew the answer, and it was already walking through their streets. In the ruins of eastern Threxen. A small Galaxian scout team sent a silent distress call. They were deep behind enemy lines, trapped inside the broken city of Vakur, once a proud place of peace. Now it was a battlefield, crawling with Dravak units. Commander Varn watched the report from the war room. 10 scouts. Cut off, the officer said. They're pinned inside the old power station. No safe path out. Varn nodded. Send back up. A calm voice behind him replied, No need. Everyone turned. It was a human. Not tall, not loud, just calm. Focused. Quiet like smoke before fire. I'll go, he said. The Galaxians exchanged nervous looks. You? One officer said. Alone? The human nodded. Yes, another Galaxian muttered, That's suicide. The human glanced over and answered, No, that's strategy. The next transmission came 1 hour later. It was from the scout team. They were alive, every single one, and behind them, the entire city of Vakur had gone silent. No more enemy signals. No movement. Just quiet and smoke. Commander Varn didn't understand. How? He whispered. So they sent a drone to fly above the ruins to get a live view. What they saw became legend. The drone flew over dark buildings and shattered walls. Then it spotted him, the human walking through the city street. Calm, steady. Alone. He passed Dravak corpses. Some shot, some disarmed, some frozen in fear before death. The human carried no heavy gear, only a thin black rifle and a pack of strange, glowing tools. He wasn't even running. He was just walking, like the city belonged to him. Further down the street, a Dravak tank rolled forward. The drone's camera zoomed in. It was one of their heavy siege machines, thick armor, twin plasma cannons. Too strong for a single soldier. The human looked up. He didn't run. He pulled out a silver rod, twisted it once, and threw it at the ground. The rod stabbed into the stone, then exploded in a shockwave of light. The tank stopped moving. Its systems shut down. Its lights died, and its turret melted inward. Like metal under a black sun, the drone's camera glitched. The screen went fuzzy. When it cleared, the tank was a smoking shell. The human had already walked past it. By the time the scout team was rescued, they gave their report. They said the human had entered the city with no plan, just instinct. He didn't speak much. He used the terrain, set traps, hacked enemy systems without touching them. One scout said he made the Dravak fight each other by turning their armor against them. Another added he didn't even blink when the missiles fell. He just walked through fire like it wasn't real. The youngest scout, still shaking, said he looked like death, but with eyes full of purpose. Back at command, Galaxian analysts pulled data from destroyed Dravak gear. The human had disabled an entire city's defense grid, disarmed 3 battalions, collapsed too. Towers. Destroyed 4 tanks. All in less than 2 hours. Alone. They gave him a name. Not his real one. No one knew that. They called him the Black Echo, because wherever he went, silence followed. That night, deep in the Dravok War Council chambers, panic spread. One general screamed. A single human erased a city. How do we fight that? Another said, we don't even know how they're doing it. They don't follow rules. They don't follow patterns. The Dravok Emperor remained. Quiet. Then he spoke. Find this soldier, he said, or surrender this war. Back on Threxen, Commander Varn stood by a window, watching the black ship still floating above. He spoke quietly. What kind of world creates beings like that? A human officer nearby replied, a world that doesn't care if you survive. So you learn or die. Varn turned to him. And Earth learned? The human gave a cold smile. We learned to win. Outside, the wind carried ash through the streets. The city of Vakar was still burning. But now, it burned in silence because one soldier had passed through, and the enemy would never forget his shadow. Asterisk. 3 days had passed. The war on Threxen had changed. Not because of weapons. Not because of numbers. Because of Earth. Dravok forces had stopped advancing. Their dropships turned back. Their commanders sent scrambled messages. Fear was spreading. In their ranks like wildfire, the Galaxians were no longer desperate. Now, they were confused and curious. Commander Varn stood inside the war room with his advisors. Who leads them? He asked, staring at a live feed of human soldiers marching through the ruins. We still don't know, said the intelligence officer. No calls, no symbols, no visible chain of command. Varn frowned. That's impossible. Every army has a head. One of the younger staff whispered, maybe not theirs. Varn made a decision. He requested a meeting. He sent a formal message and invitation to speak with Earth's commanding officer. A full day passed. No reply. Then, at midnight, a human walked into the command center. No guards stopped him. He moved like he belonged. He wore no badges, no medals, just black armor, tight gloves, and a cold look in his eyes. He looked young, but something in his stare felt ancient. Varn stepped forward. Are you their leader? The human answered, one of them. Who sent you? The human paused. Earth. The room fell silent. Varn cleared his throat. We want to understand your mission. We expected support. Instead, you took control of the entire battlefield. The human nodded slowly. Because support fails, control wins. Varn was stunned. You mean you don't follow our orders? The human stepped closer. We don't follow anyone's orders, he said. We follow outcomes. That word echoed in the room. Outcomes. Peace. Not justice. Just results. We didn't ask for Earth's rule, one Galaxian officer snapped. Human looked at him. You didn't, but you asked for survival. That's what we bring. He placed a small cube on the table. It activated. A 3D map of the galaxy floated above it, highlighting dozens of planets under siege. The human tapped one after another. These systems will fall within 2 cycles if left alone. We already sent. Strike teams. Varn raised an eyebrow. Without permission? The human didn't blink. You asked for help. This is what it looks like. Then he leaned in and said quietly, we didn't come to join your war. We came to end it. Outside the chamber, the black ship moved for the first time in days. Its hull opened, and from it, 3 more vessels descended, silent, smooth, and dark. They carried no flags. No names. Just Deathworlders. Galaxian sensors tried to scan the ships. They failed. Each time, the data returned blank or scrambled. They're jamming us, the technician said. No, Varn replied. They're not jamming. They're hiding. That evening, Varn walked the outer wall of the city. He found a human standing alone, staring at the stars. Varn asked, "Why no flag? Why no anthem?" The human didn't turn. Flags burn. Anthems fade. But fear lasts. Varn said nothing. For a while, then quietly asked, "Are you here to protect us? Or control us?" The human finally turned, and his answer was short. Both. In the Dravak command sector, panic turned to desperation. A captured scout revealed everything. "They don't take prisoners," he said. "They vanish in the night. We never hear them coming. We don't know what they are." One Dravak general pounded the table. "Then what do we call them?" A junior officer stood slowly and whispered, "The Black Command." On Threxen, Galaxian citizens began seeing more of the humans, but not their faces, not their camps. Only glimpses. At night. In smoke. In firelight. Some swore the humans didn't sleep. Some said they didn't bleed. Some said they weren't even alive. But one thing was certain. The war was ending. And Earth was choosing how it would end. In the highest tower, Commander Varn stood with his officers once more. "We asked for soldiers," he said quietly. "But Earth sent something else." He looked out at the quiet city below. No parades, no flags, just shadows and victory. Asterisk, the stars above Threxen shimmered with strange light. Not from suns, but from Earth's fleet. After the black ships. Signal. Dozens more arrived silent, invisible to sensors until they were already in orbit. Some were sleek and dark. Others were strange in design, almost alien in shape. None of them had names. Only numbers. And purpose. In the war room. Commander. Varn stared at the expanding fleet map. "How many are there?" he asked. The Galaxian officer gulped. "We can't count. Our systems are being overridden." "Overridden?" "Yes, sir. By them." Just then, a message came in broadcast on all frequencies. It was not in Galaxian. Not in DRVAK. It was in Earth Standard. Final phase initiated. Operation. Breakline. Objective. Collapse the Dravak Empire within 72 hours. The message was brief. Cold. No emotion. No discussion. Just fact. Varn tried to contact the human command again. Earth. "This is Threxen Central. Request clarification." "You mean their army, right? Not their empire?" There was no answer. Only silence. Then the signal cut. The Galaxians didn't understand, but the Dravak did, because just a few hours later, Earth's true power was unleashed on the Dravak homeworld. Dark clouds gathered unnaturally. Storms began in places where the sun never set. Power grids failed with no warning. Entire planetary shields shut down for exactly 13 seconds, enough time for something to get through. Then cities started falling. Not bombed. Not destroyed. Erased. A single Earth weapon called Fanta Drop by intercepted code was used on their capital fortress. The structure was made of neutron steel. It had survived starquakes. It had defended against 6 invasions. It melted in silence, turning into black ash that floated away in the wind. The Dravak Emperor tried to flee in his dreadnought, largest in their navy, but it never left orbit. Earth's stealth ship appeared beside it mid-launch. A single beam of blue energy cut through its engines like they were paper. The ship fell back into the planet and shattered into fire. No survivors. Across the galaxy, Dravak colonies received one message: lay down your arms or vanish. Many refused. None answered again. Back on Threxen, Galaxian officers watched the map light up as red enemy zones blinked out one by one. No missiles. No fleets. No armies, whispered a science officer. They're winning without a war. Another added, it's not war. It's removal. One of Earth's commanders appeared suddenly on Varn's comm screen. This one was different, older, more direct. She spoke plainly. You called for help. This is our help. The Dravak Empire is no longer a threat. Varn asked carefully. And what happens after? The human tilted her head slightly. You rebuild. You remember. And you never invite them back. Varn nodded slowly. And Earth? We'll leave when we're done. And if someone else threatens us again? Her reply came like a hammer. Make sure they don't. In a deep bunker beneath the Galaxian capital, civilians watched the news screens. All showed the same thing. Earth's ships above Dravak space. No fighting. Just presence. Like giants standing still. Waiting. Waiting for a reason to finish the job. 1. Galaxian elder whispered to her son. This is not victory. This is warning. Back on Threxen, a single human soldier walked into the remains of a Dravak base. He placed a small black box on the ground, pressed a button. Then walked away. Behind him, the entire structure folded into itself, collapsed, like paper. No sound. No trace. No waste. Just clean silence. The war was over. And Earth never raised a flag. Never asked for land. Never made a speech. They simply looked at the galaxy and said, don't make us come back. The war was over. No parades. No music. No loud celebrations. Only silence. A strange kind of silence that made the stars feel colder. The Dravak Empire, once feared across 10 sectors, was gone, not conquered, but deleted. And Earth? Earth was already preparing to leave. In the Galaxian capital, high officials gathered in the central chamber. Commander Varn stood among them, still trying to process everything. Screens showed human ships pulling away from orbits, rising like shadows from quiet worlds. No looting, no demands, no flags planted. Just departure. Varn spoke softly. They never asked for anything, not even thanks. A senator beside him replied, that's what makes them terrifying. Outside, citizens lined the walkways, hoping to catch a glimpse of the black-suited soldiers as they passed through one last time. Some waved, some whispered prayers, some simply stood frozen. No one dared speak to them. They weren't just soldiers anymore. They were legends. A child tugged her mother's hand. Are they leaving? Yes, her mother said, kneeling beside her. The monsters are gone. But, the child asked, were they monsters or heroes? The mother didn't answer, because even she didn't know. In the sky, Earth's flagship, the One, known as the Black Echo, tilted gently. Its hull shimmered in the sunlight for the first time. Then, without sound or fire, it disappeared. No jump gate. No signal. Just gone, like it had never been there. At Threxen's command base, Varn received one last encrypted message. It had no title. No origin tag. Just a few words. We responded when others stayed silent. We acted when others hesitated. Next time, be ready to stand without us. He read it twice, then deleted it. Some truths were too heavy for history books, and in the months that followed, Galaxian builders began rebuilding the cities. Wreckage was cleared. Schools reopened. Families returned from hiding. But one thing had changed forever. Fear, not of the enemy, but of the ally who had ended them. Galactic councils spoke carefully now. Military forces restructured. All science stations began recording human behavior and technology, quietly, secretly. Some even debated, should we prepare for a day when Earth isn't on our side? Others replied, how do you prepare for something that doesn't fear death? No one had an answer. In one quiet archive, an alien historian wrote, they came from the darkest world we knew, and yet they brought light, not the warm kind, but the kind that burns away all shadows, even ours. In the deepest part of space, A small scout drone passed by a rogue asteroid field. It caught a strange signal, barely a whisper. A human voice. It simply said, "We're watching." And then silence again. Some say the humans returned to Earth. Others believe they never left. A few whisper that they now hide across the stars, waiting for the next call. But one truth remains, etched into the minds of every species. Never mistake Earth's silence for weakness. On Threxen, a new statue was built. Not of a hero, not of a flag, just a shadow, carved in black stone, standing alone, with no face. No name. The plaque below read, "They came in silence, they left in silence." And silence is what remains.